What's up? All right. Well, looks like it's just me right now. Um, and so I'm going to just jump right in to today's topic, which is comping melodically. Um, a little background on this. I uh, I've always enjoyed comping, maybe more than I've enjoyed quote unquote soloing. And I say quote unquote because uh, I like the idea that soloing is not actually a solo. It's a conversation. It's just kind of leading the conversation. Anyway, that aside, comping is, I think, actually, maybe not that aside. Comping is a way of being engaged in the conversation, right? Not just being background for somebody soloing and doing their thing on top of you, us as musicians, as comping players, but actually being engaged in a really dynamic, cool conversation. I just love that. So, I want to talk about one of kind of my more advanced concepts of comping that really opens up the ability to get dynamically into that conversation, which is comping melodically. And I think that, many years ago, gosh, it could have been almost 30 years ago now, I gave this idea in a kind of a lesson, if you will, to Taylor Agstey. He must have been 12. And I think it opened up some things that were really cool for him. And he still to this day very generously credits me when he talks about his own variation on this idea. I can't remember exactly what he calls 49 chords or something like that. Showed up on a podcast recently and with the great jazz piano YouTuber Noah Kelman. And I was really grateful to Taylor for naming me in that. But anyway, this information is not proprietary, right? It's just music. And it goes out into the world. Now, if I make a great worksheet on this, maybe that's somewhat proprietary. So if you want to come and study with me and get my feedback on what you're doing, that's something that can only happen with me, and that I charge you for. But you're welcome in this community, and you're welcome to gain this knowledge and to do your own thing with it. So let's talk about the idea of comping melodically. Most of the time, as a foundation, we learn chords. Let's say, I don't know why I'm gravitating to E flat major, but for some reason, I think because that song, that composition that we were just listening to starts in E flat major. So most of the time we learn chords like this. We get to this level of like, oh, cool, I'm past 1, 3, 5, 7, seventh chords, and now I understand I can create a little bit more jazzified, complex, tension-filled voicings by going to like a 3, 5, 7, 9. And the variations on that, just inversions like this one being very typical, etc. This one being a really nice variation of a 3, 5, 7, 9, 9, and then 3, 5, 7. That's pretty. But this 3, 5, 7, 9 is very, very typical, right? Okay, yeah. Making sure that mic is working. And then we learn to extend that voicing with some right hand stuff. What I teach as my first extension is an octave. And so you get that classic sound. And let's just let's make this progression have a little bit of tension release here, just for the heck of it, like a 5 to 1. Let's do that. All right. And then, even with just this octave, you can start to comp melodically. So I just want to start here, because this is where the practice of melodic comping can really start to become applicable in your playing. Even if you're just playing your standard voicings, and honestly, even if you're still on root positions, you can extend out to the right. You can extend the right hand up here with an octave. Now, oftentimes, the next step is to add an extra note. So that could be your middle finger or your index finger. And then beyond that is to add a third note and to create, well, sorry, I'm thinking of the octave as one note. That's two, obviously. So we add a note in between. We add another note in between. We can create actually upper structure triads. And that's cool. I love these power chords or power chord variation, maybe 1, 4, 5, or even like this, right here, a third away from one of your notes, and then with the octave. So like a 1-3-8 shape or a 1-6-8 shape, if we think of an octave as 1-8. All right? Now, just giving you a range of options, but let's think about what we can do melodically with the right hand without even changing the left hand to start. We can create simple melodies. We can create more complex melodies. We could just think of those as short and long. How about? And we can use diatonic notes, or we can use non-diatonic notes. So let's say I'm in a tune that's going like ba-dee-dup, ba-dup. Maybe I can move my right hand in response. Or dee-dee-doo-doo-doo-da. Maybe the tune or the soloist goes like that. Dee-dee-doo-doo-doo-da. And I want to respond. I'm not going to go in response to that melody or in response to a soloist like that, right? That would be basically parroting. And if it's a short call and response, cool, right? That happens. This was kind of like out of maybe Groove and High, right? Da-da, da-da, ba-do-da-da-da-da-da. All right, but once that melody phrase turns into a longer phrase, we're not going to parrot the whole thing. We're just going to respond. And this is where we get into this conversation, which I was talking about, which I love as a comping instrument. So, how do we want to respond to that? How about that? Okay. Hear that melody? All right. How about if I start on the note the phrase ended on? Ba, which is F. Ba. How about if I give it a little bit of retrograde as an answer? I like that. The power chord. You might notice my left hand is tending to go to the 3-5-6-9 or just 3-6-9. These are just patterns that are kind of inherently habitual for my left hand. But I'm going to try to stick to the 3-5-7-9. All right, now I'm in a conversation. that conversation can be purely rhythmic, right? And just respond. And that's totally cool. But this is a lesson on comping melodically. So now that was all diatonic notes, right? Let's explore possibly non-diatonic notes. All right. And okay, I am recording. That's good. All right, let's explore non-diatonic notes. So, chromatic approach. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da, or da-da-da, or da-da-da, or da-da-da, da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. The longer that phrase gets, the less, what am I trying to say? The longer the phrase gets, the more I get into a danger zone of interjecting too much, right? When you're comping, you're not leading the conversation. So it's an interjection as support, right? Sometimes if the soloist gets you in a conversation and an interjection that becomes a back and forth, or even a melding together, you can actually kind of have that climactic conversation point together, which is really, really cool. But we're going to let that emerge. Right now, we're just talking about that interaction and the interjection of support. So I'm going to keep it simple. Da-da. How about that? Ba-da. Just kind of bluesy. Maybe on my B flat 7 I'll play a flat 13. Maybe I'll play the octave with the power chord. That works. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, that's nice. But that could be any number of things, right? Da-da, from above. Da-da-da-da-da. Cool. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Two. Two from below. Probably don't want to do this from above. Just one. If I'm doing B flat 7, that's not going to work. Second of all, the melody hasn't given me any inklings of Lydian, so why would I interject that? You know, I could, but it's kind of presumptuous, I think. So, ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da, 6 up to the 7. Let's do that. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. That's cool. Notice I'm going for this one, not this one, although I could. But again, now I'm inserting a Lydian vibe, which, you know, it could be cool. I just want to be careful about imposing my own will when I'm comping, right? I want to be primarily in that supportive and acknowledging role. Like, ooh, you said that? Boom, pow, cool. Poo, pow. Pretty much like most of the time, it's 1 note, 2 note, 3 notes response. Yeah. There's a lot that you can do with 1, 2, 3 notes. Let's put kind of a period at the end of this sentence. We have recap. We have looked at our standard voicings, right hand up here, with an octave or some variation on an octave, adding a note, and having a response to either a melody or a soloist. and comping melodically in that way. Now, let's look at two-handed voicings and explore some of the things that we can do with two hands. And then before we finish, I want to explore some of the kind of alternative shapes that we can use, oftentimes with one hand, either left or right hand, using kind of clusters or just alternative shapes, and using those melodically as well. But first, we're going to explore two-handed voicing. Another of our typical voicings is quartal, right? Q-U-A-R-T-A-L. And this is where we get to this one for like an E flat major. So we'd have a 3, 6, 9. And sometimes we learn, when we learn chordal voicings, that we can alternate like a whole step down or a whole step up, depending on where we're at, major, minor. So in this one, we have this alternation that would be really typical. We also have the chordal variation of going up to the 5 chord and creating some functional harmony in there, just like I was doing with this one, going here and back. We could do the same thing here. And it's kind of like keeping that chordal shape, right? So that's nice. All right. And just to mention it, because we're going to go there, all right, a little foreshadowing, we can go chromatic. And this would be very typical in chordal harmony, is just having the license to go chromatically up or down. So we have our diatonic alternator right here. And we have our functional alternator right here, going to the 5 and back. And we have our chromatic alternations, going up and going down. And each one of those is basically its own variation of like an in and an out, right? And you wind up with this tension release, which is great. That in itself is essentially a melodic comping. Okay, you're creating tension and release. You're creating a movement one way, but then you're coming back, right? So we're not getting into like melodic as in a full-fledged melody, just as in a melodic movement. So if we were to add the right hand in octaves, that would be totally cool. Chromatic down, and moving down diatonically, not as satisfying because we wind up on the 4th here. So, you know, maybe I'm up here. But you see, when you start moving in a motion like this that's organized, you actually justify that tension that's created with the 4 here on the A flat. You would never play this as like, this is an E flat major 7 voicing. No. But when it's going back there, now it has this power of tension and then a release. Release, tension, release. Here's the functional tension. You could add some chromaticism into that. Here's the chromatic tension. Chromatic tension, obviously, is much more like, woo, eyebrow raising. But this one is also tension and release. Now, we're not really featuring the melodic element yet, though, right? We're just featuring the tension release element. And I really want to put like a star on that, because any good melody is going to give you some movement that feels like tension release. All right. Man, part of my brain is going like, what about pop music that's on two notes, man? Normally, that's not really a good melody. Just to put a judgment on it, but it might be great lyrics, right? It might be a great groove. It might be a really well written song with a very simple melody. So we can parse that out and argue that out as much as we want, but let's continue here from the idea that tension release is going to be kind of a core element of a nice melody, and sometimes that happens from large leaps, and sometimes it happens from non-diatonic notes or non-chord tones in a melody that resolve or that want to resolve. All right, so enough said. Let's extend this chordal voicing out to our so what voicing, or we could do a full chordal voicing to start. Let me just say, this can be done, this whole exercise I'm about to lead you into can be done with the quote-unquote so what voicing, or with a fully chordal voicing. Fourth ear, fourth up. Right? The so what voicing has the major third on the top instead of the fourth. All right. Let's use a fully chordal voicing for now. We're going to now go up and or down the E flat major Ionian scale. Every note. That one's interesting. Nice. That one's pretty harsh. And we'll come back down. This is probably lower than I want to be. Right? My cutoff kind of for smaller intervals is an octave below middle C. It's cool though, it still works. Okay, so this one now, it's pretty intense. Woo. We have the 4 and the 7, the two most intense tension notes in the diatonic scale. So now this one makes a lot of sense, right? This one gives us that tension and release. This one's intense because we have this 4 in here. Woo. Now, if we're isolating these, we hear those places of like, that's a lot of tension, I'm not so sure. But if we use the top note as a melody and we just follow that voicing, we can actually begin to really comp melodically with extended phrases and with big voicings, two-handed voicings, all the notes moving, rather than just the right hand being the melodic force. Okay, so let's go back to ba-dup. Why not? Ba-dup. Ba-dup. Okay. Yeah. And maybe you say like, dude, I don't want to play this chord. This is too weird, right? Okay, let's do a different variation of E flat. How about this one? This is kind of one of our so what voicings. Fourths, and the major third. That has the G on top as well. So, let's see. I like that. This one's pure chordal. This one's the so what variation. Melody, response. Cool. I like it. Now let's review some of our other possibilities. We had chromatic. This one maybe doesn't fit chromatic because the melody is dictating a leap of a third, right? So let's leave that for a second. But what about our functional harmony, our 5-to-1? Could we create a 5-to-1 right here? Yes, we could. The melody starts on the 5. Resolves down to the 3. That's perfect for creating a 5-to-1. So, what do we have here? How about a chordal B flat 7? How about that? What's that you say? You want something a little more sophisticated and interesting harmonically? Okay, let's make it altered. How about that? You just hear 7-3 sharp 5. Here's the sharp 9, and again the repeat of the sharp 5. Nice. And you might be saying, I never thought I could just play an E flat major triad in my right hand, but it's all about what you do in the left hand. 3, 6, 9. I like that. What about using the diminished scale, you say? Okay, we could do that. Maybe something like this. We get flat 9, sharp 11. Maybe we just do it like this. That's 7-3 13, flat 9, sharp 11. Cool. Okay. Now, there are ways that we could use chromatic. All right. Like, here's our chromatic in the left hand. That works, right? Why not use this voicing here? There we go. Cool. Okay. So I laid the foundation for being able to make these kinds of intricate decisions about how I want to respond melodically as I'm comping with all of these different variations on hand. By practicing them from a very basic, right, my like foundational voicing place, and just having the framework of I can play 3, 5, 7, 9. From 3, 5, 7, 9, I can move. From there, I was just using my right hand. Okay, so once we integrate the right hand and the idea of we can comp and respond melodically, then we can start thinking about how can we move our left hand. Even from here, I created the functional pathway, right? The 5-to-1 pathway. There it is. So, there we go. So now we've got this movement 5 to 1, creating tension and release. Now, if we go into chordal land, we can much easier use things like chromatic and a little back and forth. This can work. Or up. Diatonic can work with a 3-5-7-9, but it's such a standard shape of a chord that you really start to imply like very directly, not just like covertly imply, but really directly imply another chord progression. Like if I go here down, this is F minor 7, right? Versus like here, is this F minor 7? No, it's just a little
Progress.
tension and release, right? All right, we got somebody joining us. Who's that iPhone? Hey, Elliot. How you doing, man? All right.
Yeah, I just got off work.
Nice. All right. Well, welcome. I've been going for, close to half an hour now talking about comping melodically. So you'll have plenty to go through, but I'm actually just about to get to like the really juicy shit. So maybe you hopped on at a good time. And then you can go back through and see like the kind of the framework which it's all built on. So I think enough said about the foundation of this. Just reverse engineering back to the complexity, starting with the 3-5-7-9, being able to move my right hand melodically, and then starting to implement some tension and release moves with my left hand, like the 5 chord, so creating functional tension release, and then creating diatonic tension release. I was just talking about this, moving up or down in the scale diatonically is going to create tension and release as well, and then being able to go chromatic. And of course, from a 3-5-7-9, you can go chromatic as well. My next step here was to go chordal, and then we find ourselves in some of these very useful kind of alternating pairs, if you will. So we have this one, and we have this one, which is our 5 chord as well. It's kind of dual functional right here. It's the chordal and it's the 5 chord. And then we have the chromatic up and the chromatic down. And all of those are kind of our foundation of creating this melodic tension and release with really just very short phrases, like 2 notes, maybe 3. And now our entry point into creating longer phrases is to start to take 2-handed voicings and other shapes through the entire scale. And so we started here with chordals. And yes, I'm playing 2 notes in my left, 3 in my right. That's the way I like it. I know other pianists who like it the other way. 2 in the right, 3 in the left. Whatever works for you is cool. From here, now we can really start to actually create more melodic freedom. And it doesn't have to be like a long line every time you're comping, but you can move melodically, in a much wider range and with much more melodic dynamism because you're moving both your hands rather than just like, right? If that left hand is kind of stuck where it is, it's fine. You still create melodicism, but it's not as nearly as dynamic. So let's just explore some of this with two hands. So we had a ba-up, and we did ba-up, or ba-up, or ba-up. Different variations on the 5. All right. We also have chromatic. Can we go from... I guess so. Ooh, that's D. Woo. I don't know. You know, we don't have to worry about that because we're just creating that kind of superimposed tension and release. So, look, all of those work. Yeah. I think that could be our movement back. So let's think about a longer phrase and maybe add some non-diatonic. So, what I do? That's our either melody or our soloist playing a phrase. Our chance to respond. How about that? There's a nice response. Boom, just propel them, let them know, hey, I heard you, and go for it into the next thing. What can I do here with, if I'm playing a chordal voicing? It's a little high. I don't love it. How about down here? That's cool. But I don't love the 4 in there, right? So maybe I'm going to flip my voicing right there to the so what variation. If I wind up here, and then I can just bring it up. I like it. Now, we get this kind of fluency by shedding both of the types of chordal voicings, the so what variation and the full chordal, through the scale, up and down the piano, majors, minors, dominants, and anything else that you want to have this flexibility, fluency with. Could be melodic minor. That would be a good one. All right, so let's say we're just going to stick with major for now. Oh, Lydian would be a good one, right? We're going to run this through the scale. And practice going down, up. Just practice little melodic phrases. Once you've gone up and down the scale and have some fluency going up and down, then practice little melodic phrases and then longer melodic phrases. So the little ones are, as we talked about, just those little tensions and releases, up, down, up, chromatic up and down, chromatic down and up. See where you can find places to go from 5 back to 1 as well. Right here is a 5 to 1, right? Let's see what we can do with tensions. Here we go. There's a little 5-1 spot, right? That's nice. All right. So now let's practice the so what variation. We're going to take this through the scale. Can't love that voicing, right? That interval just makes that super intense. But maybe there's a time when you like it. I don't know. Here we go. My fingers don't even want to play it. So our pair, as I talked about in the beginning, before you were here, Elliot, our alternating pair is this one. And this is the same as it would be for the left hand alone. All right, we're adding this. And this becomes kind of in, out, in. Ah. And like this one, you know, I'd probably never do it. So maybe this should become a variation on a 5. Right? Maybe. Or maybe I'll keep this here. I like those. So now I'm starting to find, right, some really nice melodicism, even just like within the inner voices. I'm not even moving my top note, right? This guy. That's pretty hip. So, all right, now. The so what variation on the chordal voicing works okay for going through a scale, but it's not like the optimal one, right? There's really just these two spots where it's nice. And then I get here. So 3. It's like 3 positions where the chordal so what works really well on a major scale. Given that, it'd be nice to find some other ways, right, to utilize this position, this inversion, as it was, voicing. So let's look at chromatic. Chromatic going up, chromatic going down. I like that. And now, if we have this one, and we can go up chromatic. So let's just look at that and use that to respond chromatic, to respond melodically. That's nice. Nice, right? Or the 5-1. All right. So, again, we're in, to reiterate something I said earlier, we're in like kind of a conversation rather than just being background, right? Comping melodically opens up a conversation so that we can build something dynamically with a soloist. And it's not just soloing over a live play-along track, right? But we do have to be careful to maintain our role as support and interjection, kind of acknowledging interjection, not like stepping on a soloist. And that's a tricky thing, you know, depending on the moments and the time of the soloist, etc. So let's just recap what we've established. Chordal voicings, 2 variations of them, going up and down through the scale, and then also having the ability to create those little tension and releases with alternating back and forth between 2 voicings, diatonically, functionally from a 5 to a 1, and chromatically, above, below, and back. All right. From here, we can basically create we can create a nice voiced melody, any melody that we want. So this not only opens up our ability to comp melodically, but also to play phrases from from heads, right? So this isn't just about copying for a soloist. It could be actually the way you play a head. So let's look at a head and think about it. Elliot, you got a tune you're working on at all? Like, with maybe one phrase that we can apply this to?
I've been working on Darn That Dream this week.
Darn That Dream?
Yeah.
Nice. Wow, I haven't played that in a long time, but it's a beautiful tune. Da 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 da. Woo, man, that melody is great.
Yeah.
Is it in G or E flat?
Yeah, it's in G.
What does it do?
So start on the 5 here.
What's that chord?
B flat minor.
It's B flat minor. It is B flat minor.
And then there's kind of like a 2/5. Well, yeah.
No, what is that?
It's like a B7 with an F on top. I've been playing it like this. I think you can kind of play the flat 9 too. But I've been playing it like this.
Are you on your phone?
Say that again?
You're on your phone, aren't you? I can't hear your I can't hear your sound very well on the phone. Are you able to switch to a computer?
I can, yeah. It might take me.
Great, yeah. And then just flip your audio settings to the the noise reduction. What's it called? Zoom background noise removal, and just put it on low. All
Gotcha.
right. And then we'll be able to hear your piano. All right. Yeah. Okay, man, I haven't played this in so long, I can't remember the changes. Something like that. Okay. All right, so let's just look at like the first phrase. Ba da 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 da. All right. So instead of like voicing it down here like I was, which is fine for, kind of a simple solo piano, maybe more fugue style or whatever with some inner voice movement. Let's say we're like in a band. We want to
recording in progress.
We want to either we're playing the melody or we're just playing with the melody, supporting it. So here's our G major 7 chordal voicing, right? That would correlate to that. Fully chordal. And then if we can go up the scale, okay. And then B flat minor. This would be the one, like the So What version. There's kind of chordal voicings of B flat minor, but it's not great because we have this in here. That said, sometimes A minor 7 with a 13 never hurt anybody. In fact, it just added some cool shit. So I just want to say that. That would be non-standard, but it would be cool. Woo! And then maybe we could find our 5 chord there. Could be altered like this. Could be diminished like this. I like that. If we want to go more chordal, we could do this. Any of those E flat 7s still work from here. Ooh, I like that one. And we've departed a little bit from the pure chordal zone, right? But as you go through scales and you can see the chordal shapes, you can adjust, you know, and just fit it. I like that. What do you like, Elliot?
I like all of it. It all sounds good. Yeah, I've been playing it kind of like with some chordal shapes, like on that. Yeah.
Yes.
We were talking about putting that 513, but like
Yeah.
I'd probably play.
Great. Let's
Yeah.
let's voice the G also. Ba-da-da, so we get everything moving.
What would you do there? Like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so what are we playing on this?
It could be that or it could be this. Or this would be your like fully chordal. Could also do it like that. Any of those. So this guy here, this guy, or this guy. I think the so what makes a lot of sense right here, but you could also play a fully chordal right here. And really lean into the A minor 6 thing. Woo. I don't mind it. I think we want something like this or like this. I think that's good. Okay, if we're going on, da-da is the perfect opportunity to do chromatic, right?
Yeah.
Probably come from below right there. Whew. So either so what or the fully chordal. Either one. Da, 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 da. What's that chord over that? Da, 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 da.
In the real book that I have right now, it says A7 over C, but the melody note is a G sharp, so it's kind of a weird thing to play.
Okay, I think it's just like a C major. Like that kind of line cliche thing, the sharp 5 to the 6.
Yeah.
Is that right? I'd have to go back and listen to a recording to.
Yeah, it has that to C minor 6.
Ah, I knew there was something else in there. Thank you so much. Okay. Is it C major first, like A over C, and then
A7 over C sharp to C minor 6.
A7 over
That's
C sharp?
Yeah, so that's why it's
Oh,
A7.
that's what it is. That's what it is.
It's kind of clunky, yeah.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Scott. It's been way too long since I played this one. Yeah, what a great tune. God. Yeah, I mean, we just got to lean into that and voice it in a way that it doesn't create this. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like you could do that, da-da, or yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Getting very high. Yeah, where like I'm losing the thread with this because it's, you know, like playing a chordal up here for B minor 7. It's like this is just too high, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it could work depending on the context. Everything depends on context. But I like this better. So maybe we got to find a time to get down low. Maybe it's right there. No. Trying to find a riff right there. Yeah. Okay. That's enough. We don't need to go and like voice the entire tune. And in fact, like you could, but honestly, like this is not a technique that I want to apply to like even an entire A section. Like maybe, but it's more of a thing that I want to be able to voice specific places, right? and give it this vibe of like everything's moving, and then also create these tension and release moments. So the other like nuance here that I'm looking for, besides just like how do I get a chordal voicing of this, is those like 5-to-1 moments and the chromatic moments. So if we look back at, let's just say the first phrase, ba da 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 da, we found that chromatic moment that's in the melody. Da da, right? We could do that chromatic. That's obvious. What about da da da, like leading ourselves to B flat minor? Could we use the G as the 9 on an F7 or like a B flat, a B7? Ooh. Wow. Maybe. That's pretty intense, but it could be cool. I like this chord a lot. What about coming, like, I think from literally chromatically above, isn't just G doesn't work very well to stick on top of a B minor 7, right? What about A minor 7 though? We could come at it chromatically from below. What's the voicing we're using? This one? Huh. I can see that. It's subtle because this one then is coming from a half step above. So you don't necessarily experience this as A minor, right? But just the concept can lead you into a nice voicing. Can we turn this into a C7? Oh. We could. Maybe. Yeah. All right. This is definitely something I kind of picked up from Keith Jarrett, is this way of thinking about like, can I voice this melody note that leads to this next thing with a leading chord, right? Either the 5 or a diminished leading or a chromatic function. Keith does less chromaticism harmonically and more 5-to-1s. I'll show you an example. The Duke Ellington Blues. Things ain't what they used to be. Keith uses this voicing right here. This is that same voicing. See, it's like just studying this Keith shit. It's already embedded in me. What is it? Cool, right? And you wouldn't think, oh, I can do a chromatic with the melody doing this, right? But when you open up and shed these melodic comping possibilities, you start to see like, oh shit, I could fit this in. I could fit these together. Yeah, really changes the kind of static nature of harmony of station to station into that more dynamic thing of like tension and release that's available to you kind of at all times. So I want to go through one more idea here, which is the chromatic part. Actually, it's kind of starting from the chromatic idea, but it's the idea of parallel. And this is where you can get some super modern hip shit, right? You've probably gotten into some of this, Elliot. I think I've heard you do it. But if we circle back to let's go back to E flat major. And we go to our chordal voicing with the so what variation. So let's think about the melody, top note, as the anchor. And that's going to keep us in the key. Right? We'll start here. But this shape and the intervals of it are going to stay exactly the same. Right? Have you done this exercise before? Somewhat, maybe? Okay. So when we go up, instead of going to here, right, which is like moving everything in the key, we're going to go to here. Yeah. And then here, and here, and here is that, and here is that, and here is that. Now you can get us some really, really interesting hip shit where like the melody's still diatonic, right? But the chords are shifting because you're keeping them locked in a parallel. And this idea then extends to any shape, okay? Any shape. And this is the last idea I want to present here, which is, let's just use the right hand for it. I think I use alternative shapes more with my right hand than my left, actually, but it could be either. And let's just look for some non-typical chord shapes. So small interval, wide interval is my number one go-to way of getting those. That could be a second and a fourth, which is basically just an inversion of a chordal voicing. This is going to give you, either one of these is going to give you that like Chick Corea McCoy sound, right? And we can take that diatonically. And we'll have those weird things again. Or we can take a parallel. And we have weird things, but they actually make more sense because the intervallic structure is staying the same. Oops. And of course, I'm keeping the anchor of the diatonic melody, but you don't have to. It could be a chromatic melody as well, right? And keep the shapes locked. So you get some really pretty stuff with the wider intervals, like with the fifth, with the sixth, right? I think some really pretty stuff happens when you're diatonic with a sixth and a second, and you let some of these tensions and releases that happen. Like if I were doing, let's say, an intro, an outro, cadenza. and just following this structure, and giving myself leeway to, like, switch it around. Use your creative imagination. You can also kind of use your intuition about what shapes are going to work right here. Do you want that tension that you can see is going to emerge from this shape with the 4 in it? Or do you want to have it more resolved? Okay, let's put it on the 3. So let's just go through, like, let's go through the beginning of Darn That Dream with this idea. How about like a whoops. Huh. You get the idea, right? That could create some really nice textures for an intro, for instance. Just want to play the last A, and, like, just as long as I can just kind of voice out with my left hand, simple, 1-3-7s, 1-7-3s. Maybe I fill it out, but yeah. So many possibilities. I want to hear what you're playing right now, Elliot.
Yeah, oh man, that's crazy. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to think about keeping that interval that I first had. What is that? Yeah. Definitely something to mess with, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
And try taking these shapes. Anyone that's like that calls to you that feels like, ooh, this is cool. It feels good in my fingers, or like, I like how it resonates, and be deliberate about practicing it through a specific scale, right? Even on that one, like B7, right? It's like weird. What scale are we even using for that? Like, I don't know. It could be any number of dominant scales. Like, do you want to use the altered dominant scale on that?
probably, yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay. So, like, what would that shape then be? Ah, shoot.
Yeah.
Go through it.
What note did you start on?
It
On the
doesn't
B?
matter. Yeah, just go through the scale.
Uh, man. Wait.
Yeah.
What's
Woo! Woo! That's deep, right? That's the root and the flat nine sharp nine as a voicing. Like, that's fucking cool. I love this. Ugh. I want to apply that to some other keys. So then you discover things like that, right? Where you're like, ugh, man, that's making my skin crawl in a really happy way. Like, what? Ugh, shit. Okay. Oh, what is the G? Oh, shit. It's so cool. It looks good. It sounds good. Like, yeah. I like this one a lot. Ah. Haha. Oh no. Shit, it doesn't work. Ah. Oops. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's like endless fun to be had, is the point. uh, there's a rule that applies in marketing about repurposing content, and the same thing should apply to practicing. Repurposing content is like absolutely crucial. Just think about it in terms of like in your brain, you're like creating a tree off of any given like node of information, like that voicing. And it's like, okay, this voicing can be going through a scale, right? It could also be applied like within a two-handed voicing or within like a melodic phrase, right? Or within a song, right? What do you think?
That's dope. Yeah, I like all of it. Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well, I think take some of these ideas, see what calls to you in terms of the application. I kind of laid out a lot today in terms of the different things that like comping melodically entails or opens up, and then just see if you have this idea kind of floating right here, comping melodically, what you can pull from that grab bag of yummy ideas in Darn That Dream as you're learning it. And then when we play with the rhythm section next weekend, see what comes out. Sound good?
Okay. Oh, sweet, for sure.
All right, dude. Maybe for you could just like commit to creating an intro
Okay.
that uses some of this stuff, and then like voicing parts of your melody in ways that uses some of this stuff, and then
Yeah, for
just
sure.
see what happens. Like maybe it's not when you're soloing, but maybe it's when you're comping for bass. some of this melodicism can come through as well. And maybe it is in your solo. I think the melodic comping thing, especially with the parallel voicings, works really well when you're building. So it could be like a second chorus thing. Maybe, you know, if you're playing Darn That Dream and we do the like double time feel kick in on the bridge or on a second chorus, then, you know, this comes into play, you know? That kind of stuff, right? Sound good?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. You got any? I got like 5 minutes before I need to call it. You got any things on your mind you want to bring up?
Things on my mind that I want to bring up. Yeah, so I was looking through a little bit of your like learning tunes strategy play sheet again. I know that was that a previous video? I haven't watched the video. Yeah. You want to talk about that just like for a little bit?
Well, yeah, sure. Was there anything that either resonated or that you were like, I do it differently, or somebody told me to do it differently? Or
Well, yeah, so I think what I've been doing is like I try to listen to the tune a bunch first, try to like really resonate with the melody, and then start learning and reading the melody, and then kind of trying to start fit like harmonic stuff into that. But there was something I don't know if I have the sheet pulled up somewhere. There's something that said that was kinda interesting to me.
I completely am behind you if you want to focus on learning the melody as much as you want to learn melody, and internalizing that is like internalizing, you know, the shape of the tune in so many crucial ways, right? I think I was thinking more as the pianist in an ensemble than like the pianist who is obligated to play the melody. And so, yeah, this is more of that kind of approach. But
Yeah, I have it pulled up.
totally into you learning the melody.
Yeah, okay. I was pulled up. So, like, I feel like that's an interesting place to start to like learning a song is to start with what key, because I feel like in my experience, if I get too familiar with the tune in one key, then when it gets called in another key, then I feel like so unprepared. So I feel like when I've been learning the melody, I've just tried to remember like the numbers and just try to give myself a starting point in each key. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this is just yeah. I feel like I'm just looking for more strategies because it's definitely a weak point I think is learning tunes. Like it takes me probably longer than it should to get it tuned down. But yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted
So yeah, I mean, I think the melody is great because that becomes that like a kind of underlying tape that's gonna loop for you, keep you in the form, keep you connected to like kind of the fundamental of the tune. But it's not like for me, oftentimes I kind of know the melody, but if I don't know the harmony, like you just saw me struggling through and not being able to figure out what was that harmony on Darn That Dream, but I knew the melody, right?
yeah,
Uh, yeah. So for me as a pianist, the functionality of harmony and the structure of the song, how that harmony fits in the structure is just like so fundamental. I have to internalize that if I'm gonna feel like, oh, I really know this tune.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're learning what would an approach to learning the harmony of a song be? Is that just like I'm kind of like sight reading the chord chart and I'm just like trying to find voicings there? Is it like what we were doing today? Am I practicing the harmony by trying to comp for the melody in my head, or um, yeah, do you recommend doing that with time, like put a metronome on always first, or is it like kind of free of time, just make sure you have the changes down? Like, what would how do you start practicing the harmony on a tune that you just learned?
Um, I think that, um, yeah, I don't know if you've watched that video. I think I kind of started from the beginning a little bit, but like Speak No Evil was a tune I already know, more or less, right? That I've played, but I'm like, do I really know this? Like, I want to go back and make sure I really feel solid on this. And so, Darn That Dream is kind of probably in a similar place for you, right? Where you like, it, but maybe it's not like totally solid yet.
For sure.
So I think like going through it and just being like, okay, I asked you what key are we in? Key of G. Great. Okay, we know that. Now, like functionally, what's happening? Right? We go like, this is where I'm going to go through and just start with
Yeah.
the functionality of the harmony. How does this all relate to the key? And or where are the modulations? Okay, this is like characteristic weird thing in this tune. We do a 2-5 that starts on the flat 3.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm going to stick that in my brain. I knew it was something, but I couldn't remember. Na, na, na. And however you want to think of that, whatever makes it stick, just make it stick. If it's a flat 3, if it's like, no, it's chromatic, like instead of doing a 2-5, it's chromatic, from above.
Yeah.
You could think of it like that, as a chromatic 2-5, and then coming down to the 2. But then instead of going to the 5, right, we go to the 3 dominant, which is the 5 of the 6. So now I'm thinking of this tune as in the more structural thing of like, I start on the 1 and I have this thing 2, and then I have this movement to the 6 minor, right? That's kind of a landing spot. So I'm really looking for those like shifts and the landing spots. Okay, we're starting in G, then we have that thing that goes to E minor. If I know I'm going to E minor, that sets my brain on like, oh, right, or B7, it's the 5 of E minor, right? And then we have this weird little movement, right? Okay, so this is the tritone. The tritone, like A over C sharp, C minor. That's basically what this is, right? So I'm gonna like learn that and be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna forget that now, right? And I think I want to walk down probably E minor, D over E minor over D. Okay, 3-6, right? Then we have 2, and then there's something different right here too, right?
Yeah. F7.
Ah, it's the back door.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
2-5 T flat.
Okay. Cool. Yeah,
Yep.
I'd have to relearn the bridge. So, yeah, I think like the learning those like harmonic centers and the shifts, listening to the recording, absolutely. And then as you go through it, just working on your improv and all the contextual things, like, do you want to arrange this with like voicing things and whatnot? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk more about that, but I do have to. I'm gonna have to call it for now.
Sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Elliot. Have a great one, man.
Thank you. You too.
See you, dude.
Peace.
Recording